Welcome to Channel Japan. I'm Mai Demizu.
And I'm Makiko Tsuda.
Every week, we bring you the freshest information out of Japan from our studio here in Tokyo.
From the economy to culture and even foods, if you want to find out what's happening in Japan right now, this is where you'll find it.
Channel Japan Ranking.
We bring you Channel Japan Ranking, in which we rank some of the hottest products and services in the country. Well, today's theme is businesses with innovative strategies.
Now, first, let me ask you, Demi-san, what do you look for when you choose a place to go out eat?
Well, food is a big factor, but at the same time, I'd care about the atmosphere too, because I want my friends to enjoy the atmosphere as well as the food.
That's true, and
And
I
you?
would say the same.
Yeah.
Yes, food and atmosphere is very important.
Right.
But lately in Japan, there's a trend where izakayas or Japanese-style bars will focus on a theme to generate word-of-mouth publicity and interest from their customers with the goal of attracting more regulars.
What kind of izakayas are they?
Well, we have a list over here. Their themed izakayas are becoming popular dating spots as well, and we have a ranking of themed izakayas put together from a survey of magazine readers, and these are the top 5. Have you been to any of them?
Actually, yes. I've been to number 3 canned food theme bar, and number 4 magic show theme bar, and number 5 izakaya with catch your own fish pond.
Okay, so you know a lot about them, but
Well, all these themed izakaya make a great conversation piece with the customers, I
Definitely.
think. Yes. So today, including izakayas, we'll give you a look at the number of different companies that are doing well thanks to their innovative ideas. So take a look.
This restaurant seems completely run down. But it's fully booked for a month. This man makes $20,000 just by releasing a bird. There's also a very popular underground exploration tour. We reveal some unusual businesses where big money is being made. Our first stop is an extremely popular restaurant that attracts repeat customers thanks to its uniqueness. We asked locals what was so unique about it.
知ってますか？結構隠れ家的な感じで。隠れ家で有名？はい。本当に分かりにくいでしょ、あそこじゃ。分かりにくい。
She kindly leads us to the restaurant.
ここですか？これ？人気店？だってどう見てもこれはちょっと
There's no sign, and the exterior is worn. We went inside to find out what makes it so popular. Is it up here?
明かりがついて。ありましたありました。すごい。一気に空間が広がりました。
Inside is a fashionable interior. The restaurant retained the old exterior while the inside was transformed to create a big contrast. The restaurant's signature is its shabu shabu hot pot, which uses local brand pork with special dipping sauce. The restaurant opens at 6 p.m. Regular customers know exactly where they're going and continue heading up the stairs. Weekends are booked a full month ahead. Most bookings are by regular customers who have the secret behind the venue's popularity.
初めての人を連れてきたいお店なんですよ。びっくりさせるみたいな。
People want to bring friends along to see their reaction. The plan to surprise first-timers certainly works. Since opening 9 years ago, this system of bringing new patrons has triggered big earnings. Next up is a company that has a knack for earning money, yet it has just 3 people working for it.
もう毎日忙しいです。
鷹の手を借りてでも忙しい。
Their business partners are, in fact, hawks, birds that are at the top of the predatory bird chain. All of the employees here are hawkers. A hawker is a person who traditionally trains hawks to hunt. But what kind of business are they in? We've just arrived at a prestige apartment block. Just then, the hawk takes off. But why?
鷹を使って鳩の追い払いをしてます。
This company, said to be the only one of its type in Japan, specializes in dispersing birds like pigeons and crows that have become pests. Until a year ago, this apartment building had pigeon nests all over it. The balconies were covered in droppings, creating a foul smell. Once they decided to employ the services of the hawks, the effect was immediate. Now almost all the pigeons have disappeared. We inquired about the price of repelling birds.
200万ほど組んでいただいて。
That's for a 1-year contract. One job takes 3 hours 3 times a week. They are currently employed by over 10 other apartment buildings. There are still more jobs. We head into the mountains.
最近ちょっと需要が多いんですけど、ちょっと変わった現場なんで。ここが現場です。
これは
メガソーラーですね。
メガソーラー。全部カラスですねこれ。
There are crows nesting by the panels, and their destructive actions are causing quite a few headaches.
ここですね。ここにカラスが石を落としてひびが入ってます。
The solar panels are cracked, and not just in one place. There are holes everywhere. There's a rock by the hole. The crows pick up the rocks and drop them, causing the damage. Although the solar panels have only been installed for a year, about 90 glass panels have already suffered damage. The owner is at a loss for what to do.
損失としては結構な金額になっちゃう。
大きいよ。
いくらぐらいなんですか。
203万円としても3区270か。
The cost of the damage is already $27,000. If it continues, it could affect power generation, so he has requested the hawker's services. But chasing off crows is a much harder task than chasing off pigeons. The crows are strongly territorial and approach the hawk as it flies toward them.
近づくけど一定の距離で感じですね。
Eventually, they fly away from the hawk. But at times,
なんかやってますよ。
the crow attacks. It's now the crow's breeding season, and they are very aggressive. That's why it's important that they are driven away before they are allowed to settle in one place for breeding.
逃げてきました。
あれは鷹で逃げてますよね。
They come here twice a week, and a 6-month contract nets them $18,000.
儲かってるんですね。
そうですね。
The next business is in Tochigi Prefecture and conducts tours of places with forbidden entry. People come from across the country to join, and tours are fully booked 2 months in advance. We drive for 15 minutes.
工事現場みたいな感じですけど、立ち入り禁止って書いてる。
The bus stops here.
ここで降りるんですか？
There's a locked gate. What is beyond the gate? After a short walk, what appears to be an entrance to a large cave comes into view. What is it?
ここはですね、採石の跡地でして、これからそこの最深部も奥深く、一番深い行けるところまで行きます。
This forbidden place is a former quarry, an industrial heritage site. It was once the largest and most prosperous quarry in Japan. There were over 100 sites in operation during peak years. This large underground cavern is a result of the quarry site.
うわー、真っ暗。
It gradually slopes down the deeper you go.
冷たい冷たい。なんで持ってないの？すごい。どうなってるんだろうこれ。
寒いっす。
The temperature is 8 degrees Celsius and stays about the same year-round. Even further along, a truly amazing scene awaits. An underground lake appears before our eyes. It was formed over countless years as water continued to fill it up.
この辺りは全てこれ手掘りの跡なんですね。採石の方法は手掘りです。
It's like a natural cave.
天井が低くなってきましたよね。
As it was carved at a slant, the deeper you go, the lower the cave ceiling becomes. We alight the boat and continue our exploration. In the darkness ahead, a single beam of light pierces through from above.
もう本当にここにね、スポットでこう当たるっていう時間は本当に今しかないので。
This magical scene only occurs at a specific time each day.
全然違う世界に来たような気分でした。
景色が遺跡のような感じで、とても楽しかったです。
To conclude the tour, the group eats a special lunch of local dishes at the quarry site. The tour costs $70 including lunch. They currently run 3 times a month, but there are plans to add more tours in the future. The aim of the quarry tours is to benefit and revitalize the entire region, with tours for other quarry sites also being planned.
Well, the business that turned unused land into sightseeing spot was especially interesting because they contribute to the revitalization of the region.
That's true. But actually, it's quite popular nowadays to take tours of places not normally associated with sightseeing.
So what kind of tours are very popular?
For example, we have a picture over here. It's a tour of a factory after dark, and the industrial area around Tokyo has become a popular tourist spot because these days you can actually enjoy pretty beautiful views after dark with the factories being lit up.
I can tell, yes. So by trying to find something new and innovative, you can open a door for new business as well. Well, that's it for Channel Japan Ranking. After the break, we'll be showing you a popular documentary program, so stay tuned.
Mitsui & Company. Enjoy traveling around East Japan. The Shinkansen will take you to the land of nature and hospitality. East Japan Railway Company.
Mitsubishi Electric is helping to change the environment for the better around the world.
Green subway systems in India.
Green solar power systems in Singapore.
Sistem AC ramah lingkungan di Indonesia.
Eco changes for a greener tomorrow. Mitsubishi Electric.
Tomorrow never ends with you. With you. When the morning falls, we there so long.
For life's greatest moments. Bridgestone.
You're watching Channel Japan. In our next segment, we're introduced to some of our popular documentary programs. Today, from Japanese Dream by TBS, we'll introduce a university professor who is researching noise pollution.
Yes, now certain noise can not only affect hearing but can also trigger illnesses.
So what kind of illnesses exactly?
Well, according to reports submitted to the WHO, risks increase for high blood pressure and also heart disease.
So today we'll take a look at the new technology that reduces noise pollution in development for the past 30 years.
We are inundated by a myriad of sounds in this world. There are over 16,000 noise-related complaints filed annually. But there is no way for us to wall in the sources of these noises clear up to the sky. Now, we have groundbreaking technology that cuts down on noises. The key is this ordinary-looking panel. Simply by placing this atop a wall, perceived sounds could be cut down by half. If you look at it carefully, you will notice that there are tiny holes letting light through. How is it that a panel so thin can lessen sounds? The developer of this panel is Yasuhito Kawai, who has dedicated his life to sound.
30年以上、いろいろ温めてきたんですけど、やっと光が見えたっていうか成果が出だしたって言いますか。こちらは先端に。
He wants to lessen noise with his magic panel and his innovative theory. His goal is to create an environment in which everyone can live comfortably.
I have a dream.
Today, Kawai will personally test the effectiveness of the panel he has spent 30 years developing.
LQ 出せますね。そうしようか。
A taiko drum surrounded on 3 sides by walls will be beaten while the sound is measured outside the walls. First, listen to this sound. Now we have the panels developed by Kawai. What will happen to the sound when they are placed atop the walls? Let's compare the sounds. The sound of the drum is 83 decibels. When the panels are in place, it drops to 73 decibels. This is the equivalent to the sound of a train passing overhead, reduced to the volume inside the train. A person would perceive the noise to be less than half as loud.
10デシベル下げてくれよというふうに頼まれてですね、下げようとすると従来だったら壁をじゃあ3メートル上げましょうと提案してたものが60センチで済みますよと、本当にすごい技術だと思いますよ。
ここまで落ちると思ってなかったです。はい。
He says the point is at the edge of the wall.
上をこういうなんていうんですか、音がよく通るスカスカなもので置き換えた方がかえって良くなる。
Kawai discovered that secret 30 years ago. He had just entered the world of architectural acoustics at the time. He had been researching the basics of sound in relation to the construction of concert halls and such. In the midst of his research, he happened upon the strange sound phenomenon that occurred at the edges of walls.
エッジ付近にできる空気の粒子の激しい振動ですね。計算してみるとそういうのが分かったんです。
Originally, it is the vibration of air particles that carry sound. What Kawai discovered was that air particles that carry sound vibrate violently at the edges of walls. That causes the sound to be amplified. He called it the edge effect. No one else in the world had discovered this. His heart danced in excitement. The vibration of air particles that carry sound increases at edges. Kawai immediately announced to the world in a thesis. However, what came back to him were not accolades, but criticisms. Such a theory is unbelievable. One of the criticisms was his lack of data. Computers in those days were incapable of handling such massive data as the vibration of air particles. If a computer could not do it, he had no choice but to do the calculations by himself. Using the random time available to him during his workday, he continued the complicated calculations that would prove his theory.
これとかこれは私のあれなんですよ。虎の巻みたいな。はい。いっぱい計算式を書いてる。まあ料理人で言えばレシピですよね。
これにはじゃあ先生の30年間の研究が全部入ってるって考えてます。
あ、ほとんど入ってます。
This massive amount of complicated calculations is a record of Kawai's battle. He had no idea if the road he was on was the right one. Still, he wanted to prove the phenomenon he had discovered about sound. His solitary struggle with calculation formulas continued on.
やめてしまおうとか思ったことはありますね。何度もあります。好奇心大事ですよ。こういうことをやってみたいとか、これなんとか追求してみたいっていう、それに向かっていくときにやはり情熱と忍耐力がないと。
And 30 years later, thanks also to the advancements in computers, massive amounts of data in hand, he has finally proved the phenomenon of sound that he had discovered. And he is convinced. If you can suppress the vibration of air particles on the edges, you should be able to suppress the amount of noise. In order to implement his theory, Kawai requested the cooperation of a certain person. Kunihiko Araki is an acoustics expert who has designed a large number of concert halls. Kawai arranged for Araki to listen to his theory for the first time.
すごくびっくりした。我々は音の強さを弱めるために、例えばホールを作る時もそうですけど、壁に吸音材を貼り付けるというのが我々の常識だったんです。だからそういう吸音材の使い方が全然変わってしまうんですね、ここで。
Araki has connections with professionals who produce such construction materials. Kawai has found himself the perfect partner for turning his theories into actual products. Further, Kawai had the idea to construct the noise reduction panels to be placed atop walls out of materials that had holes in it. This is how it would work. Here is the edge of a wall where air particles vibrate violently. The material riddled with tiny holes would be placed on top. The vibrations of the air particles would be absorbed into the tiny holes. The aim is to lessen the sounds coming through. However, a problem cropped up in the development of the noise-reducing panels. Although the panel did lessen the amount of sound, air particle vibration was also produced on the edges of the panels. They decided to try to gradually lessen the vibration by using progressively thinner material toward the upper edge.
一応最初この7層ですね。これがとにかくもう一番最初に試したもので、で層を一回厚くして、これ13層ですねきっと。13層。ガラッと思考を変えて低くできないかというんで、これはあまりうまくいかなかったですね。
So, what was the most effective number of layers? They tested over 20 different panels.
研究っていうのはそのレールの上行くわけではないんですよ。でどちらかといえばこう道なき道をこうかき分けていくようなところがありますから、その道行ったらひょっとしたら崖で終わってるかもしれないしっていうのもありますから、ね、そういうのしょっちゅうですから。
After much trial and error, the end product, with production costs taken into consideration, was a 60-centimeter panel in 3 layers. Highly efficient soundproofing panels that overturned what had been the norm had been perfected. Kawai went on to develop other products, soundproofing panels for highways.
全国の高い遮音壁が3分の1の上がなくなれば、なんかかなりスッキリすると思います。空がたくさん見えるっていうのは気持ちがいいですよね。それとやっぱり経費がかなり安くなりますから。
High soundproofing walls not only ruin views, they also block sunlight. The use of Kawai's panels would allow the walls to be lowered by 1/3 without lessening their effectiveness. Together with Araki, who was responsible for connecting Kawai's theories with the developers, Kawai heads for a final check of his product.
いい精度が出ればいいんだけど。
Vehicles crash into the soundproofing walls from time to time. Repeated strength tests are carried out. Has there been so much emphasis on strength that the all-important sound reduction has been compromised? Today, the performance of his soundproofing panels is being tested against reproduced highway noise. In order to compare the effects, the soundproofing panels are first covered in iron plates to form a regular wall. A speaker on the other side plays the sounds of a highway. Next, the iron plates are removed to test the effectiveness of the soundproofing panels.
だいぶ違いますね。かなり下がりましたね。いや、随分音のイメージが変わりましたよね。
Surprisingly, the reading on the noise meter has fallen by 7 decibels, making it as quiet as the inside of an office.
6デシベルのぐらい下がれるようなものがあまりない、ほとんどないんじゃないかなと。すごくいいものができたとは思ってますけど。
Then, in March, Kawaii's soundproofing panels were installed on the highway in a test. Data will be collected over the next few weeks, and their performance will be verified. The theory ignored by everyone 30 years ago has finally been given form and will now be of help to the world. Kawaii's perseverance has borne fruit.
天才なら好奇心だけでいけるかもしれないけど、私なんかのような凡人だとやはり忍耐力が必要だと、我慢してやってきたことはそれはいつか花開くと思ってますから。
Kawaii, who was dedicated to research, knew nothing of turning his ideas into a product. Araki turned out to be his savior.
30年間の孤独な戦いを一人でやってこられたと思いますが、やっと日の目を見るというか、製品がいろいろとあちこちに完成してきました。これからもっとどんどんとこの理論で世の中の騒音がなくなったらいいなと思っています。僕たちも応援しますので、それを20分の1、30分の1まで先生が頑張って落としていくようにお願いします。
まあ基礎理論ばっかりやってましてね、まああまりお役に立てないことも多かったかなと。まあまだ満足するところまではいかないんですけど、まあこれからも頑張ってですね、静かな騒音環境を作る努力はしたいと思ってます。
Well, if the noise from the highway is reduced to the level of a business office, the nearby residents who have been suffering would surely appreciate it.
I'm sure they would, and the number of complaints were down for some time, but they've been on the rise in recent years. And I have a breakdown of complaints by the source of noise compiled by the Ministry of Environment.
So noise from construction sites tops the list?
It does, and in Tokyo, many construction projects are planned for the 2020 Olympics and Paralympics, and many more hotels and a number of other commercial facilities are in the works, and reducing noise is a big challenge.
Yes, so it may be impossible to eliminate all noise issues, but using these soundproofing panels can help reduce the problem. Well, stay tuned for another economic program, Gachiri Monday, coming up after the break.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could do this? We make things like this possible through the power of chemistry. We're the Kaiteki company, Mitsubishi Chemical Holdings.
So, what would be the key to success in expanding your business globally? Cash management? Knowing the whereabouts of your money at all times, and managing your money speedily and accurately. which means accelerating your business for better results.
SMBC Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation.
Myanmar. Red. United. 世界への挑戦 Passion, Spirit. 次のプレミアムフィールドへ
The view is almost like peering down on the star-filled night sky at your feet. It's the city at night seen from a height of 450 meters. Make unforgettable memories. City lights stretching for as far as the eye can see. Find it at Tokyo Skytree.
You're watching Channel Japan. In our next segment, we'll be showing you an episode from popular economics program, Gachiri Monday by TBS. Today's theme is public transportation.
Yes, now, first of all, let me show you a map of the subway of the Kanto area. It's quite complicated, isn't it? And did you know Japan has the largest number of people in the world using trains?
No, I didn't know that. Wow. Well, how many people are using the train exactly?
Well, in Japan, they say more than 22 billion passenger trips by train are recorded every year, and this is by far the top figure in the world. And the second is India, where 5.3 billion passengers are recorded. So it's clear how outstanding Japan's numbers are. And on average, each Japanese person rides the train 196 times a year.
So today we take a closer look at the popularity of public transportation across Japan.
In order to find lucrative transportation companies, we first visited the privately owned Nagano Electric Railway. The staff showed us train cars that are the secret behind their success. They were similar to train cars on the Odakyu Romance Car train that runs between Tokyo and Kanagawa.
そうですね、はい、元ロマンスカーですね、はい、今長野電鉄の湯煙という特急車両で、はい、運行しております。湯煙？はい。
The old Odakyu Romance Car is now used by Nagano Electric Railway and called Yukemuri. It features large windows in the front car, which from passengers can enjoy panoramic views. The train was shortened from 11 to 4 cars and runs across the Nagano area. We asked why they decided to use these former romance cars.
小田急電鉄から譲ってもらったということなんですけれども。
When these romance cars were put out of service, they took the trains and remodeled them to run on their tracks. Odakyu gave the cars for free because they also benefited from not having to pay the disposal costs.
廃車費用も相当かかることはかかるんですけども、何よりはずっと自分たちが面倒を見てきた車がですね、他の地で活躍できているということはすごく嬉しいことですね。
It is better to see the train cars still being used instead of scrapping them. That's how former Odakyu Electric Railway employees feel. For the railway in Nagano, the benefits go beyond just saving on costs. We talked to the president who acquired these romance cars.
私昔小田急線のこれに乗ったけど長野で走ってるって聞いてそれで乗りに来ましたとかね、収入が著しく伸びたっていうことはありましたね。
The strength of the romance car brand helped increase the number of passengers. The combination of apple fields and surrounding beautiful scenery is another attraction.
いやもう最高ですね。
When this train stopped at one of the stations, another familiar train passed by. It looks like the train that takes passengers to Narita Airport.
元 JR の、成田エクスプレスですね。 JR から購入した形で、今知ってますね。
The retired train cars from JR East used to transport passengers to the airport. Now, it's called the Snow Monkey Express. We can see traces of what the original train used to be like. For example, the space for storing suitcases is still there. A round-trip express ticket only costs $2. And you can ride a romance car to your destination and return on the Narita Express. Other retired trains are also in full operation for local use. Used trains. Is that the company's strategy?
いや、新車作れないからだけです。
These veteran trains play an active role as both sightseeing and transportation for local residents. Next, we headed to Saitama to visit Saitama New Urban Transit. The head office is below an elevated track.
おはようございます。よろしくお願いします。よろしくお願いします。社長はどちらに？
はい、社長です。
社長。
これが埼玉新都市交通のがっちり乗り物ニューシャトルです。
これ？
はい。
電車？
はい。電車ですが、ゴムタイヤであるというところがちょっと違ってます。
ゴムタイヤ？
The interesting part of this train is that it runs on tires rather than rails. Another thing that makes this train unique is, for some reason, it runs alongside the Shinkansen, or the bullet train.
東北上越新幹線をですね、建設する際に、地元の皆さんがあんまりそのメリットがないのにですね、線路だけ通って大変ご迷惑をおかけするという問題があったものですから、地元の皆さんにその別な乗り物を提供しようということでできた鉄道でございます。
32 years ago in 1982, the Tohoku Joetsu Shinkansen was built. To make use of the space next to the track, they built the new shuttle train to offer convenient transportation for locals. It only takes 25 minutes to travel the distance of 12.7 kilometers in Saitama. Right after the formal opening of the new shuttle, the number of passengers did not grow much.
開業当初の毎日1万人から現在は4万7千人ぐらいになりました。
After 30 years, it has increased about fivefold. Various strategies were used to increase passengers.
今10分間隔になってるわけです。この多くの時間が。
10分間隔。
はい。これをその取り組み始める前は、15分間隔が大部分でしたので。
By shortening the intervals by 5 minutes, the number of passengers increased. Some people worried that the increase of service will only increase costs since there weren't many passengers to begin with. But somehow the number of people riding the train grew.
便利ですね、すぐにどんどん来るのが。
10分に5分で利用していただいてます。
Before, potential passengers weren't using it because the lack of service was inconvenient. There were other strategies they implemented.
ダイヤ改正をですね、毎年1回、厳密に言うとこの8年間では9回やりました。ダイヤ改正というのは鉄道事業では一番大きなイベントなんですね。ですからそういうことをですね、こういう小さい鉄道だけども頻繁にやってるということをですね、対外的にアピールするために意図的にやってるんです。
Because they are a small company, they don't have much budget for advertising. But whenever they revise their schedule, newspapers and magazines report the changes. These simple strategies increase the number of passengers. Next, we went to Amakusa City, located in southwest Kumamoto Prefecture. This is another local transportation company whose revenue is soaring. It is inside this airport. The Amakusa Airlines is an airline company based in Amakusa Airport. When we went to the airfield, we could only find one airplane and the airport was very quiet.
いや、もううちはですね、1機で運航してるんですよ。もう1機、この1機しかないんです。これだけ。これだけ。
The only airplane they have is a Canadian-made propeller aircraft that can hold 39 passengers.
うちで一番働き者ですよ、これは。1日10便飛ぶんですね。1日10便。はい。
It flies at full capacity from morning to night with 10 flights a day. First thing in the morning, it flies to and from Fukuoka. Then it flies to Kumamoto and then to Osaka and returns to Amakusa. After that, it makes 2 round trips from Amakusa to Fukuoka. By car, it takes more than 4 hours from Amakusa to Fukuoka, but 35 minutes by plane. And to Kumamoto, only 20 minutes.
娘たちがですね、福岡にいるもんだから、はい、もう時間が短縮で、いいですよね、車で行くよりですね。
Amakusa Airlines is an indispensable means of transportation for the local people. This flight is almost full. Off it goes to Kumamoto. The biggest attraction of this plane is the view from the windows. Usually, an airplane flies above 8,000 meters, way above the clouds. However, this plane flies at 1,300 meters, so passengers can enjoy better views. Comparing the two, you can see how different it is. In 20 minutes, it arrived at Kumamoto Airport. After the passengers get off, the flight attendants and the captain clean the cabin, which is rather unexpected. The secret behind the success of Amakusa Airlines is that the employees do all of the work themselves. Even security checks, that is often outsourced, is done by the employees. Unloading the baggage and handing them to the passengers is also done by the employees. Having everything done by the employees largely reduces costs. At 6:30 in the morning, a flight attendant joins the cleaning duty, which is done once a month. The president is also participating.
全員で1機をですね、飛ばしてる会社ですから、愛機なんですよね。愛機。愛車と一緒ですよ。車を大事にするのと一緒で。
At 7:30 p.m., after all the flights, employees perform maintenance on the plane.
もしもですよ、不具合とか見つかったらどうするんですか？朝まで徹夜で作業して直します。
If they cannot fix it, they will have to cancel all the flights. Because they don't have a backup plane, maintenance is handled very seriously. Next, we visited this company in Saitama.
あ、どうもどうも。ようこそいらっしゃいました。これが我が社のイーグルバスです。路線バスです。
路線バス？
はい。前のバス会社さんから引き継いだ時は月間2万人のご利用者さんだったんですね。で現在では、今2万5千人ということで、年間で約今、6万人弱、実は増やすことができました。
This company used to operate tourist buses, but now they also run fixed route buses.
they succeeded in increasing the yearly ridership by 25% to 300,000 passengers. There is a secret.
これが秘密です。
どれ？
これです。
これ？
はい。
社長これ何ですか？
これはですね、赤外線の乗降センサーです。バス停でお客様が、乗り降りするこの人数をですね、毎日毎回実はこれをカウントしています。
With a sensor equipped at the door, they keep track of the number of passengers at each bus stop. Also, they record the time of each departure and arrival. The white lines on this graph show the timetable, and the blue lines are the actual times of arrival and departure. When both lines overlap, it means the bus is running on schedule. But when it falls behind, the differences become larger. By analyzing the data, they change the stop times to match the number of passengers. And they increase the number of bus services during specific busy times in the morning. Then, the two lines begin to overlap. The biggest change they made was the routes on which the buses run.
これがハブバス停と言われるところです。ハブです。
This is the secret for efficiency. They used to have 5 different routes, but they were scattered, and the distances traveled differed. So, they came up with the idea of a hub-centered bus route. This is commonly used for airplane routes. By creating a transfer point in a central area, all the routes connected. Each route was shortened and the number of services increased. Also, now that passengers can change buses at the transfer point, they can easily travel to places that were hard to access before.
だいたい 20% から 25% 利用者数としては増えております。
Here's what some of the passengers had to say.
ハブみんなこういうふうに、大川だとか嵐山だとかあるから非常に便利になったんですよね。
With creative ideas, this company has become a stable means of transportation for the locals.
Well, the idea of hub that we just saw the bus company employing the video was originally a concept created for the airport.
Yes, that's right. And in Japan, Narita, Haneda, and Kansai international airports function as hub airports. And the idea came from airports, but introducing the idea to ground transportation was quite revolutionary. And this hub system is now a feature many other bus companies are trying to implement.
Yes. Well, if the number of cars on the road decrease and people start using more public transportation, perhaps then there will be less traffic jam. Let's hope so. Yes. Well, that's it for this edition of Channel Japan. There will be more on the latest information from Japan, so make sure to tune in again next week.
Man, look at all these cars.
Hey, have you heard, by the way? The Japanese company Kobelco is working to make the world's cars lighter.
So what does that mean?
Kobelco is using aluminum and steel technologies to make car parts and bodies lighter around the world.
Ah, Japanese technology. The country of karate. Ha! Ha! Ha!
Why do we always do that?
I don't know.
The talk of the world. Kobelco.
Panasonic Ultra High Resolution 4K, extending the frontiers of TV.
Vamos lá.
Allowing passions to flow, values to converge, enhancing imagination. Places abloom with captivating images, bring a new kind of connection to people's lives. Panasonic 4K solutions. Break the boundaries.
Panasonic.
álmaim autója, amit lerajzoltam, egy nagyon környezetvédő autó. Milyen jó lenne, ha sikerülne a megálmodott házamba költöznöm, ahol tudok kísérletezni és állatokat megfigyelni.
Omron is a company like no other. It defines expectations because engineers are constantly working on something new. Machines that are attuned to the way people think and move. Therein lies technology that will one day help the future. We automate. Omron.